Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I do want to start off by saying thank you to all my supporters, the ones who's liking, the ones who's reposting, the one who's subscribing. I really appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. So I do want to just jump right into this because this is a topic that is very personal for me. Today's topic we're going to be talking about my infertility struggles and being open about my journey. I feel like as of right now, I'm in a space to publicly speak about it. Um, and I know that me speaking about it may give somebody else the courage because I know that it gave me a sense of embarrassment as a woman. And I felt like at a point of time in my life, I wasn't able to vocally express that and come to terms that this is now my reality. This is something that I do have to deal with for the rest of my life. So infertility for me looks like emotionally challenged, also being isolated, right? Because the isolation comes from you being a woman thinking that you can produce a family, produce just to have a child. It messes with you. I'm sorry, I'm all tongue tied, but this is the real raw version. It gives you that emotional disconnect from the one thing that most of us want, because I'm not going to say all of us, because I do know a few females who are very much comfortable and have made their decision to never want or have any children. But for me, my story is a little bit different. I've always wanted a child. I've always wanted a family. I just came from a background of loving and caring women, and that made me want to be able to, hey, let me teach my child how to cook, because those memories for me with my grandmother and my mom were just so sentimental and valuable in my life. Like, I learned so much, and to be able to pass that down and to have a legacy and somebody to live um a better life than you because you experienced some things, and you now want to teach the person that you bring into this world everything that you know so that they won't make the same mistakes. I was robbed short of that. And for a long time, and for a long time, I had unanswered questions and I really couldn't figure it out. And being a black female, doctors typically overlook the things that we complain about. So if you're not your own advocate these days, and really getting two to three, maybe even up to five different opinions, because if I knew what I knew now back then, I would have done so much more. So my infertility journey started for me in 2009. I was 17 years old. I did not know that I was pregnant. I was getting lightheaded and dizzy from time to time. And a lot of me, getting dizzy from time to time, I kind of ignored it because I was like, I don't know. I'm not a big eater, so I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't eat all day. Not knowing that my body was telling me that there was a baby trying to come into the world. Long story short, I was food shopping with my mom and I passed out. And at this time, my mom was a CNA. So her first thing was, when I passed out, I woke up and I was in Dunkin' Donuts, and she's like, "Here, you have to drink this sugar." And her first words to me were, "You better not be pregnant." And I'm thinking, like, in my head, Well, I'm already 17, about to be 18. So like, and I'm working, I'm taking care of myself, not knowing that this was about to be a new reality for me. So I wound up being pregnant. I did go to the hospital. I got checked out. And at that moment when I went to the hospital, the next thing I know, I'm being rushed into surgery. Once I was being rushed into surgery, I really didn't have any say, or I was just I was on an emotional roller coaster because I found all of this out within minutes and within seconds of, hey, yes, we took your urine, we took your blood, you're positive for pregnancy. um at this time we're gonna do a ultrasound to make sure, but we think that you are having a ectopic pregnancy. And in my head I'm like, I never heard of a different type of pregnancy than a regular pregnancy, so I wasn't educated on different types of pregnancies. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel right. This feels, wrong, that you're telling me that I'm having something called a ectopic pregnancy. So the first thing that I did was I grabbed my phone and I looked it up on Google, because now I'm laying in this, hospital bed, and they're telling me that I'm possibly being rushed into surgery. So I didn't even have a time to like process it. I didn't have the time to um call anybody. I didn't have the time to sleep on it. I didn't have the time to do anything. I had to make a life-changing decision, because what they told me was that if my fallopian tubes burst, I could be I could pass away. And at that time, I didn't know if that was accurate information or not. So I'm panicking. I'm looking at my phone and it's telling me that the baby is in the tube. And I'm just trying to really process it all. Next thing I know, before I can even, have these thoughts settled, the first thing I did was pray out loud. God, please keep me safe during this surgery. I really don't understand this right now, and I don't want to die. I don't know if this is, my time, but I know that I'm not ready at this time. I feel like I'm too young. And those were like kind of my words. Like, God, really keep me safe, because I don't know what's going on at this time. So once the doctor came back into the room and they're like, okay, Miss Thomas, um we did do the vaginal ultrasound, and it is for sure that the baby is in your fallopian tubes. So, and at this time this was the left fallopian tube. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, call my aunt, let her know that I'm being rushed into surgery, and so that there's somebody to be there for me when I get up. They did that. I gave them my number. My aunt rushed to the hospital. um so from then I woke up, and that very moment, from me waking up during the anesthesia, I was very, very sore. Like, I can't even really describe the pain. It's like, if somebody takes something and is just scraping back and forth inside of your uterus. Like, it was very painful. I could not urinate. I was very, very sore. They told me the downtime was going to be like a few days, but because my body is now going through this tremendous situation, it took me a little minute mentally and physically, because I'm like, I had a baby in me. Like, what is going on? So, and the at the time, the person I was dealing with, I didn't even have enough time to even express anything to that, my significant other at that time, to say, hey, listen, this is what I'm going through. It wasn't until after I got off the table that I was able to notify him of um what was going on. And basically he was very supportive at that time, and I was thankful that, but this was a traumatic experience for me. So from that very day forward, I did so much research to figure out, how did I get in this situation? Was there something wrong? Um, like I started asking myself questions, the unthinkable questions, like how did I get here? Is this my fault? Not knowing that this is something that happens to a lot of women. So I knew something was going on with me because I've never had a regular period. I've always bled for 7 days. I got my menstrual at 9 years old. So I knew that my womanhood was going to look a little bit different from a child anyway. But I wasn't expecting not to be able to have kids the normal way. So from then I like I said, I started to really educate myself because I was afraid of what would happen next. I did follow up with my OBGYN and she for sure me, reassured me that, hey, don't let this be your end. Like, and I was happy that I had an OBGYN of color because a lot of our conversations were very relatable and informative. She educated me on a lot and I really, really appreciated that because she's like, listen, I'm not sure what that hospital told you, but you're still able to have children. Do not allow yourself to think that at no way that you're not able to have children because you had a removal of, your left fallopian tube because the pregnancy was there for a while and it was going to burst and we didn't know what it was going to look like for you moving forward. So at that point, I'm just like, how did can this happen? She gave me a few answers. Not so much of how, just that it can happen normally. Like the sperm didn't travel the correct way, and while it traveled the correct way, but instead of coming out of the fallopian tube, it just got stuck. The pregnancy got stuck there. Um, so at that time, I'm like, okay, cool. I went on about my life. I made sure that, I went to every appointment. Um, One thing that I do feel like I should have done was that there is and I'm not sure of the terminology, but there is a way that you can flush your fallopian tubes and your embryos, like not embryos, oh excuse me, to flush your fallopian tubes. And I wish that I would have done that. Later on down the line, it's I was 17. The next time that I turned around and I was pregnant, I was 27. So it took 10 years for me to get pregnant the natural way. And here I am trickling down this same experience. So this time I did not know that I was pregnant again. And normally, females, we have morning sickness, we have cravings, we have the most that I can say at this time when I was 27 and pregnant was that I was sleeping a little bit more than normal. But I'm a sleepy person, so that didn't bother me. I just thought that I was tired because I've always worked an extensive amount of hours with any job that I had. So now that I do find out. So I went to the doctor for a regular checkup. It was yeah, it was every 3 months. I go for my checkup. I went for my checkup and they took my blood, they took my urine because all the time I do STD testing and HIV testing. And when she called me back the next day, I got a message first on my chart that your results are in, right? And when I looked at my results, my pregnancy said 99.9. My heart dropped. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant." Um, Following up from that, from my chart alert, I got a phone call, and from my phone call, my doctor was like, "Hey, we need to bring you in. Your pregnancy test came in positive. We just want to do some sonograms to make sure that the pregnancy is in the right place." Cool. I come in the very next day. We're doing a vaginal uh first we did the regular sonogram and nothing was showing up. We did the vaginal sonogram and they seen that the pregnancy was in my fallopian tubes again. All I know was my doctor was like, you have to go to the hospital now. And at this point, she was able to tell me that I was like 10 weeks or something like that. Like from what she could gather, I was like between 10 to 12 weeks, somewhere of that nature, that timeline. Um, so I was very far along. Um, all I know is that I'm in this situation again. Now I'm at my regular OBGYN. I'm now about to get wheeled out into an ambulance to go through another emergency surgery. So the first thing that I did was contact my partner and I'm like, hey, I know that we're not on the best of terms right now. Um, I need you to leave work. I'm about to go into emergency surgery. Long story short, I'm pregnant. The baby is in the fallopian tubes and I have to have this emergency surgery. My significant other at that time left work. I didn't call my aunt again. Him and my aunt was at the hospital when I woke up. So now this is where things took a turn for me because this is where reality set in. I had that 50% chance of having a normal pregnancy through just naturally sexual intercourse. But now I don't have that option anymore because my second fallopian tube was removed. So now I'm just in a panic mode because I'm like, what is going on to where I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong, right? Um, I mean, I completely went cold turkey drinking liquor. It was no hookah for me. It was no fried foods. Like I literally did a 360 because I felt like everything that I did in my life, I don't know, I was being punished for and I felt like I was doing the right thing. I was living right, eating right. I was just doing so much right that how could this happen to me again? I went into depression bad. It was emotionally draining for me because I'm like, damn, at what point am I gonna not take losses? So now I'm just gathering my life as a whole, right? As a collective. I'm like, okay, I lost everybody. So, I had faith that even if my family is no longer here to physically see me have kids, that spiritually they'll be in my child's life, right? So I came to the the terms of accepting that. But once I was not able to produce any children through just sexual intercourse because both my right and my left fallopian tube was gone, I I I I really didn't know what to do, who to go to, who to talk to this about. I just slipped into depression. Um, and that for me, it was bad. Like I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel wanted. I didn't feel loved. I felt hurt, betrayed, angry, and anything else you could imagine that was in that boat because I'm like, I'm robbed of being a woman. And then on top of that, I'm like, I'm bleeding for 7 days and I still can't produce a child. Like, what am I bleeding this long for? Like, you can't keep telling me as long as I have a period, I'm able to have children. I've been having this period since I was 9 for 7 days. 12 months out of out of the year, once a month. I'm so tongue tied right now because I still can't believe that I have really gone through this. So I'm like, okay, something got to give. So automatically, like I said, because I wasn't educated at the time, I'm like, well, let me be a foster mom or let me adopt the baby. So I started, researching of how to become a foster parent. I'm like, I done raised about 10 or 15 kids by myself, my nieces, my nephews, my little brothers, my cousins. Let me go be a foster parent and let me get my baby. And I decided that because I was 27. So by 30, 20, yeah, like 29, 30, that's when I, was looking into becoming a foster parent. And I had ran into a young lady that was at my OBGYN. She was sitting there and I don't know, we just gravitated to each other. We started talking and she was like, "Yeah, I'm here because my IVF, my pregnant she was like, "Don't say nothing. I took a pregnancy test and my pregnancy test came back positive. So I'm just here to check to get an ultrasound to make sure." And I'm like, "What is IVF?" She like, "It's infertility. Um Basically like people who have problems getting pregnant the natural way. There's basically science that can help you." And I'm like, "Science?" So she then gets called in a room. I get called in a room. My appointment is over. I'm kind of waiting for her to come because I waited in my car in front of the doctor's office. I'm waiting for her to come out. And everything went well with her appointment. They see that her IVF situation went well with her. And I'm like, "Can you give me a little bit more? Text me. I know you gotta go, I gotta go. Text me some information about it so I can look into it." I wound up doing the research and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." But then when I see the prices, I was like, I didn't want to have the mindset that it would never happen for me, but I'm like, it's not gonna happen no time soon because $100,000, $60,000, $70,000. The numbers were just bigger than the situation. Like I didn't have any hopes that I would be able to be an IVF candidate. So now I'm like, okay, I'm doing more research. They're like, the LGBTQ LBG. I think I said it right. I don't want to mispronounce anybody's um community, but the LBGTQ community, I know that they have had programs to where they fully pay for it. So now I'm like, okay, well, listen, I am going to be in this community so that they can help me out because I want to have a baby. Um, I also looked at like, they had like sponsors, people that were sponsoring people. It was a whole bunch of different options. But what I didn't realize was that the number on your insurance card, you can call and figure out this information and see what you're covered for. It wasn't until 2023. Yes, 2023. I called my insurance card. Now, I got my job insurance and I called my insurance card and I was like, "Hey, I'm looking to get I'm looking for an IVF doctor, whatever, whatever, whatever." And they gave me some recommendations. They gave me a few clinics. I then took those clinics, set up an appointment for my OBGYN, and asked her, "Can you give me a recommendation for this IVF stuff?" She's like, "Sure." She's like, "I have a specific clinic that I will want you to go to. It's a little out the way. It's upstate New York." And I'm like, "That's fine. I drive, no worries." Um, how do I get involved? How do I get there? She's like, "I'm just gonna give you a referral. This referral, you call this number, you make your appointment." And from then that's where I went. But that is a wrap for today's episode. Catch me back next week so we can finish chatting about this IVF journey for me. Later, guys.